Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode here on the Fantasy Fellowship channel. My name is Kyle. This is going to be a quick video tonight. I'm just excited to show you guys a new feature on our website. So let me hop right into a screen share. If you've read the title of the video, you're looking for some 2022 NFL draft rankings, and this is more geared towards dynasty football leagues. What you're going to do is look in the link in the description below, and then go to thefantasyfellowship.com. Just go ahead and hit the draft kit, and it'll show you a bunch of stuff that we got here brewing. It's a really good way to get your research started and underway here. So I made this really cool banner here, but we have rankings for quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends as far as the NFL draft. I'm a fantasy guy. Those are the only positions that I care about and that I want to give time to. As far as the defense and that side of the ball or offensive line, you can, I did add a link here to make your own mock draft at PFF. That's kind of cool. Let me just click into that and show you guys. You can pick, all the teams and kind of do the full first round mock draft, or you can just, pick one for the Jaguars and you just do, their entire draft. So PFF has a really nice one. And then I did want to shout out Tankathon. They've been one of my favorite NFL draft order sites for the last couple of years here. They have the entire NFL draft here, all 7 rounds of it, and they let you know who was traded where. They also have some mock drafts and some big boards and some cool things like that. So shout out to Tankathon, shout out to PFF. And then with that said, let's get into some of the meat of this quick little video here. You guys can read all this for yourself, but I did want to shout this out. So I compiled some data here. The number of players drafted by position by round. So in 2021, last year, we saw 10 quarterbacks, 18 running backs, 36 wide receivers, and 11 tight ends drafted. If you average that over the last 6 years, you can see the last 6 years I went and collected all these datas. Basically 12 QBs, about 21 running backs, about 33 wide receivers, and about 13 tight ends. So in a typical draft class, I would want to know at least 12 quarterbacks, at least 22 running back, maybe 33 wide receivers, and 13 tight ends. Now, I don't think, again, that's the entire NFL draft. I think for redraft purposes or dynasty leagues, you really only care about the guys in the first 4 rounds or so. There really isn't too many late round guys, I guess day 3 guys that are going to be much of use for us. So I'm looking at round 1. I guess here's another chart. So average number of players drafted by position by round. So in round 1, we see about 3.83 quarterbacks are taken, and that just kind of helps me break it down. So if I'm looking at this, I really only care again about the first 4 rounds as far as making sure that I know who I want to research this player. I want to know what he's about. So you need to know at least 4 first round quarterbacks, maybe another second round. So we're up to 5. Tack on another 3 here. You need to know at least 6 to 7, maybe 8 quarterbacks. For running back, I would advise maybe 2, 3. Let's see here. I guess we'll call that 4 total. We'll go up to 7. You probably want to know at least 10 to 12 running backs. Probably want to know at least maybe 12 to 15 wide receivers. Looking at this, there's a ton of wide receivers drafted in the first 4 rounds. Tight ends, not so much of a big deal here. You basically want to know maybe top 3, 5, maybe 3 or 5 tight ends there. So that's kind of what these charts help you do. But let's get into, I guess, the quick, dirty part here, the rankings. And I just wanted to show you guys, I did not compile this. This is a consensus ranking. If you go to the NFL mock draft database link, I did link that in there. You can see, this is a really nice website, NFL mock draft database. They put a consensus big board for the entire draft here. You can also get into the position. So what I did, I just compiled it by position, and you can go ahead and filter that all out yourself. But they're going to compile 27 big boards, over 200, and they're at 279 first round mock drafts and 294 team-based mock drafts. So they just kind of take everything and filter it into one thing. And that's kind of just where I pulled my rankings from here. Now, for me, I wanted this mock draft prep kit to kind of just be, a place for me to just go and just study. So for here, we have the quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett, the consensus #1. I can see, I have a hot link to his ESPN stat page, and then you also have a hot link to the highlights. If you go even further down here, I kind of talk about my process a little bit, and then I put some of my favorite films or individual game tapes down that I thought might be really useful. So if you wanted to really get into following a player, again, we kind of talked about maybe 6 to 8 quarterbacks need to be looked at, and I think this year there's kind of like a clear top 7. There's technically a top number 6. That's Pickett, that's Malik Willis, that's Matt Corral, Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter, Carson Strong. I've seen those guys kind of all mixed for the most part here. And Bailey Zapp seems to be the consensus number 7. Like after Bailey Zapp, it's kind of like, pick whoever you want. But Bailey Zapp is kind of the last guy that I think you probably need to know. Pretty impressive quarterback there. So probably want to know the top 7 guys here. Again, you can click on the highlights. And then for me, one of my favorite things to do is I like to, when I start, I watch a player's highlights. I want to see what he's good at, right? Just get the big picture. Like, who is Kenny Pickett? Let's watch his highlight tape. And then I go into the stats. I look at the individual game tapes that stuck out. And then from there, I will look into those games, and I'll try and watch every throw, every play that is made. So those are the quarterbacks. As far as running backs, I think in terms of explosive running backs, like it is one of the deeper classes this year. Again, I mentioned you probably want to know 10 or 12 running backs. I think definitely the top 10 this year. It's a pretty deep top 10. But from what I've seen, there's kind of like a clear top 5. Breece Hall, Isaiah Spiller, Kenneth Walker III, Kyron Williams from Notre Dame, and Brian Robinson Jr. Now, these guys, they're all kind of interchangeable. I think for the most part, though, the top 3 is pretty locked in with Breece Hall, Spiller, Kenneth Walker, and then you kind of get some differentiation in the 4 or 5 spots here. But I think Breece Hall, Spiller, Walker, those guys are probably the top 3 drafts. Top 3 drafted here. Kyron Williams is a little bit smaller. I think that might be, knocking him down some people's boards. But these are, prototypical big backs at the top. Really a big fan of Breece Hall. So check out, I guess, for sure, you're going to want to know the top 5 running backs here. And then I think from Tyler Allgeier here, he's 5'11", but he's 220 pounds. So he's very compact. Rashad White from Arizona State, really tall, but he's also very muscular. Zamir White, both Georgia backs are a lot of fun. Should probably know both of those guys. I really enjoyed Devontae Price so far, what I've looked into. And then after Price, it gets, maybe from Haskins, maybe down to kind of Tyler Beatty, Pierre Strong Jr., Jerome Ford, Abram Smith. These guys are probably guys that are going to be drafted in that 3rd, 4th round range, maybe. But I'm expecting, again, roughly 22 running backs to go off the board. I would plan on knowing as many as you can. Let's go take a peek here at the wide receiver position. And the wide receiver position is another one that's just super deep. Again, on average, we're going to see about 33 wide receivers drafted this year alone. I'm probably going to see more this year because it's starting to you see the trend here. 36 last year, 34 the year before. You're probably going to see more towards 35, 36 wide receivers drafted. And the consensus guy in the lead right now is Ohio State's Garrett Wilson. Kind of a quick comparison. He plays a little bit like a Chris Godwin. I think that's a fair comparison. Treylon Burks, a little bit bigger. He's probably one of the consensus number 2 guy that I've seen. And then Drake London, probably the best big guy in this draft here, 6'4", 210. I like what he does. Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, and Jahan Dotson. Now that's kind of the consensus top 6. I do think as far as the top handful of receivers, before his injury, Jameson Williams was up there as one of the best receivers. Now he's a little bit skinny. Both him and Olave are they have lighter frames. They're both under 190, and Jahan Dotson is even under 190 as well. So these guys are kind of shiftier, smaller guys. The top 3 are a little bit more well-built and ready to go. But don't sleep on guys like David Bell, George Pickens, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Tolbert, John Mechie. If any of these guys get put into the right system with the right quarterback, the right coach, whatever, then you're going to see some fantasy success. Khalil Shakir is a lot of fun. Justin Ross too, one of my favorite sleepers in this draft, as well as Romeo Dubes. So there's a lot of good receivers here. I would probably make sure you know at least the top 15, 16 receivers. Again, the top 10, 12 running backs. And for tight end sake, let's just go take a peek here. I don't think there's going to be anything, no Kyle Pitts, no Pat Freiermuths this year. But there is kind of a nice consensus top 5 or so. Trey McBride out of Colorado State. Jalen Weidermeyer. Now he's a big dude, 6'5", 260, probably one of the bigger tight ends in this draft. Actually, Jelani Woods is the biggest, 6'7", 275. But I like Weidermeyer's tape a lot. Texas A&M, and then Isaiah Likely. Coastal Carolina had themselves a pretty exciting offense last year. So definitely, I would look into the top 3 or 4 tight ends here. Jeremy Rucker is a good tight end, but he's nothing flashy. I think to stick with the top 3, that'd be these guys all right there. So yeah, look at our guy here, Weidermeyer. He's just a nice, well-built tight end there. So and on average, about 13 drafted a year. Downtrend here, 11 to 12 tight ends only drafted the last couple seasons. And in the first 4 rounds, again, only 1. We'll call that 3. We'll call that 6. We'll call that only 6 to 8 tight ends really drafted in the first 4 rounds. So we could probably stop looking around. After Greg Dulcich. Dulcich is fun. There's a lot of good sleeper tight ends here. So, but anyways, I guess the point of this video, I didn't want to give you guys a major breakdown. I'm still learning about these guys. So personally, I do not have any rankings done by myself. The fact of the matter is, it's February 22nd, 2022. That's cool on a Tuesday. So for me, I'm in the process of compiling a bunch of research. I want to continue watching tape, looking for things. We have the combine coming up. I really don't give a crap what someone's rankings are for now, right? I think for me, once the NFL draft happens, that's what really matters is what do the teams think about a player. For me, I just want to know the player. I want to watch as much tape. I want to know, what kind of body type, what are they good at, how fast these players are. I want to know who they are and what they do well. And then when they get selected by the Jags or the Chiefs, I can be like, oh crap, he's on a much better situation. So he's going to be the better guy. So stuff like that. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much. I think I'll start getting into some individual, I want to do a quarterback video. I want to do a running back. I'm going to do some separate videos where we kind of get more information, get more into it, but that'll be later. But for now, do your research. Check out the link in the description below, the 2022 NFL Draft Prep on the Fantasy Fellowship. So thank you guys. Have a good one. We'll see you later. Peace.